Hey everyone, welcome to the Rachel Cruze Show, a place where we don't shy away from scary money conversations. That's right, we like to dive right in and have conversations when it comes to money that, well, can be a little awkward. But listen, conversations around this subject, around money, are often more valuable than money itself, which is why today we're going to talk about one of those conversations that can be kind of, and it's about talking to your parents about their finances. Okay, here's why this is an important conversation. Because there will come a day where you need to know what's going on with their money and what their wishes are. So even though it feels very taboo to present the subject to them, it's better to do it now while they're in good health and here than if you're in the middle of a crisis and you're just trying to piece everything together. So I've broken down this conversation in 4 steps to make it hopefully as smooth as possible for you. Number 1, just prepare for the conversation. If I were you, I would make a list of things that you want to cover with them. Like if you have no idea their situation, there's probably gonna be a lot to ask. So you wanna ask about a will, an estate plan, what kind of debt they have. Do they have investments? Do they have a retirement plan? Do they have life insurance? Do they have a plan for assisted living? Do they have long-term care insurance? Are they aware at all about all the things that pry on older people to get their money and like identity theft schemes, all of that? So there's some big bases to cover with them. So make that list and prepare. Number 2, when you're having the conversation, be clear, be humble, and be kind. When you're meeting with them, your goal for the conversation is to talk about their future because you want to make sure that everyone is on the same page. And you don't want to come across like a know-it-all. Hey, mom and dad, we're on baby step 4, 5, and 6. You need to know what's going on. No, this is a very humble conversation because this is doing it for their honor, right? You're doing this for them. So keep your tone open, very heartfelt, very kind. Be slow in how you talk to them. Don't be aggressive. And one of the things too is you can just call out that, hey, this is kind of awkward. This is a really awkward conversation, but it's really important. And so just saying it on the front end, if you feel that awkwardness there, just call it out. And also don't make them feel judged for their financial decisions. So if they're sharing information with you, obviously don't be like, well, that was dumb. Why'd you do that? Or, ooh, okay. Like be honoring for where they're at financially, okay? And also make it sure that they know that you're not just after their inheritance. We're like, how much money are you leaving me? No, that is not the point of the conversation. The point of the conversation is making sure that they are taken care of in the later stages of their lives. And when something happens, because it's not an if, it's a when, that their wishes are granted, that their legacy and what they want in this part of their life is honored. So also, when it comes to the conversation, listen more than you speak. So this will show them that you are caring about them. And ask questions like, hey, what do you envision for your life in the next year or the next 10 years? Talk to them about their life. Number 3, ask them about their current plans. So ideally, they've already had some things in the works, but maybe they haven't. So again, ask them about a will and an estate plan. This can be a really touchy subject. So what you really have to make sure of is that they have a will. That's first and foremost. And if you're extra good on the communication side of the family, like a bonus would be that you know and the whole family knows what is in their will. So it's not like this dramatic movie scene where it's like the reading of the will and no one knows what's going on. Ideally, everyone's on the same page. But again, that could be a different conversation, but just know, you need to know that they have a will. And if they don't, you really need to emphasize that they need one, especially if they have a spouse that is gonna be still living, making sure that they are taken care of. Also, make sure they have term life insurance. So if they are out of debt, if they have a fully funded emergency fund and no one is relying on their income anymore, then at that point, they are self-insured and they don't need life insurance. But they do need term life insurance if a spouse is still dependent on the other's income, Social Security, all of those kind of things. If they still have debt, if they have little savings, all of that. Now, if they have a whole life policy, not great, because they're really overpaying for life insurance and it's not in their best interest. So they can take that whole life money and buy a much better term life insurance policy. So term life insurance is way more affordable. So once they switch to term life insurance, then they can cancel their whole life policy. Now, getting a quote on term life insurance is really easy with Zander Insurance. All you have to do is plug in their information at Zander.com and they will shop around for them. They don't have to do all the digging themselves. Zander will find the best rates for them. And best of all, Zander does all the work for free. They make it so easy and convenient and affordable. So go to Zander.com to get your free quote. Also, you want to talk to them about debts and paying off debts, getting them out of debt. Because what happens when you're out of debt, it gives so much more freedom, so much more peace, so much more options for the family. And encourage them to do this without preaching at them, like, oh, mom and dad, because sometimes parents don't want to hear from their kids. That's a thing. But lovingly say, hey, this is what we've seen. This is probably going to set you up really well if we start working on paying off your debt, and helping them and saying, hey, we're here to assist you in celebrating with you and encouraging you, all of that. You also want to talk to them about assisted living. So listen, this is kind of an awkward one because, of course, no one wants to leave their house. No. But you may want to talk about options and ask them questions like, hey, can they get help around the house? Can they live with you? Is there assisted living facilities where they already know someone? You can really reframe this conversation if they don't want to talk about it. Just to ask the questions, like know where they're at. That's the goal. Because some parents feel guilty of spending their life savings on care, but they don't need to feel that. It's their money, so it's okay. Also talk to them about long-term care insurance. If they're older than 60, they need this. According to the Alzheimer's Association, the estimated cost for care in the last 5 years of life is $367,000 for people with dementia and $233,000 for those without. And most health and disability insurances will not cover the costs. So a lot of Americans spend $140,000 out of pocket for long-term care on average. So this insurance will really help you with the costs, so you're not have to pay this crazy amount out of pocket. And the average annual cost for long-term care insurance, it's a little expensive, but again, it's worth it. So it's around $1,700 to $4,200 for men, $2,700 to $7,200 for women. So it's a little bit more of a complicated subject, but again, you want your parents taken care of and they need this in place if they're older than 60. And I've done a lot of research on this topic, so I will put the link in the show notes, or you can just Google How to Talk to Your Parents About Money by Rachel Cruze. And number 4, ask for their advice. When you're having this conversation about their situation, just ask like, hey, I want to learn from you. Honestly, people that are further in life than you in anything, whether it's career or parenting or marriage, whatever it is, they've lived a lot of life. So ask and just say, hey, I want to know what I can learn from you. I mean, conversation starters can be like, what is one thing you did with your money that you are most proud of? If you could do anything different with your money, what would it be? Ask them what the biggest financial risk they took and it paid off. Like, what was that? What did that look like? Ask them what you should teach your kids about money. You can even ask, hey, mom, dad, what do you wish for me and my finances? Like, getting their answers to these questions is always interesting because it's going to help them reflect on old memories, speak into your life, and they really get a sense of the legacy that they are leaving. It can be a really rich, interesting conversation. So again, it's kind of vulnerable. It's kind of like out there of like, oh, I gotta talk to my parents about money, but you really do. Breaching the conversation can be very awkward, I understand, but it is so important. The more you know and understand what's going on, the easier it's gonna be for you as the adult child to help make decisions for them and their legacy. And there's nothing more valuable than that. So hopefully that helps in guiding all these crazy things we have to talk about on this show when it comes to money, but it's some important ones. And as always, you guys remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.